Hello everyone, welcome back to the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, what a T20 match. I think one of the most sensational matches we've seen so far. And Pakistan finally managed to prove their point against New Zealand today at Napier and Cleans Park. And not only that, the whole idea of, the amount of shots we got to see, the amount of performance. Mohammad Rizwan just took the bat to another level. And we've about in the previous recording when we started while discussing what exactly will happen with the team. But I think the whole team played so equally solid that from the bowling end to the batting end, they proved their worth. It was not only a one-man show; it was an actual team show. And just looking at the numbers with regards to how Pakistan managed to score and chase. Pakistan has always been the kind of team who's always focused more on the bowling side. But today they've actually proven themselves to be a team that can actually prove that their worth as as a batting team as well. Anyways, with us right now is Mustafa Naqvi, who's a sports correspondent with us. I will have a word with him to see what he has to say with regards to this amazing victory that we had. Hello, Mustafa.
Hello, Alamdar. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show. Yes, thank you for being here. All right, Mustafa, what a match. What a sensational match, specifically when it came to a point of, already losing 2 matches before and knowing that, how will the team react? How will they come up to a point of, even the small detailed changes that happened in the team like today. And then coming out to bat to chase 173 is like a huge score. So how do you see this amazing, sensational victory that actually took place today?
I think it was a fantastic victory, Alamdar. Much needed for the boys, especially considering we had lost the first 2 games. The series was gone. But putting in this kind of effort, this kind of performance, even though the series is dead, they played with some fire today. There was spirit, there was energy, and that was really good to see. And if anything, I think that we needed this victory going into the test series just to give us some confidence, to keep our heads up high. I think the boys really needed some confidence after the first 2 losses.
Absolutely. And if we actually look back into the first 2 matches that we played, those were really rash, even when we were off camera and we were discussing this. So the amount of energies that they were trying to be on the aggressive side, if we look back into the first match and the second match, and yet not having favorable conditions. If we talk about the first match, at Eden Park, the pitch was bouncy. Seddon Park, the pitch was bouncy. Even with regards to the stadium today, the McLean Park Stadium, what do you think? What kind of outfield and the pitch that you see? Because I did see a lot of bounce, but I would still want for you to at least tell us how did you see this pitch for us?
So I think the surface today played a little more to our liking. It was a little bit slower, a little less bouncy than the previous 2 matches. The ball was gripping a little more. It was more slightly similar to subcontinent conditions, which our players are more used to. There was a bit of turn for the spinners. Even for the fast bowlers, they were bowling their cutters. It was gripping in the wicket. Whereas in the first 2 games, the ball was swinging around. There was a lot of bounce, and our batsmen, as we know, tend to struggle when conditions are like that, especially overseas. So I think the pitch really played to our liking today, and we did a great job. We
absolutely did
a fantastic
job.
But
at one point, Mustafa, if you remember, when Shadab Khan came in, obviously fall of wickets started to happen, and we were actually looking forward for we were looking for Mohammad Rizwan's century, which we were counting balls to see he's going to score a century, because I think he deserved a century. But when the fall of wickets started, the trickle down effect reminded me of the same first T20 match, the second T20 match again, So how do we come up to that? How can we get out of that unpredictability? Let's talk about that.
That's a great question, Alamdar. I think actually the unpredictable factor of the Pakistan team is something that's always been there ever since at least I can remember, or since I've been following cricket. One of the commentators mentioned while those couple of quick wickets went down that winning is a habit. And at least recently, I think in T20 specifically, we haven't been winning that regularly. So when you get out of that habit, even in some games where you are cruising, as we were today, it was, I think, 11 needed of 12 balls with 7 wickets in hand.
True.
It probably should have finished the game in that over. But then we're out of that habit, right? We haven't been winning lately. We haven't been closing off games.
Right.
So the jitters, the little lack of confidence was kind of there to see. Shadab just played a rash shot first ball, and it was a little clear to see that these guys haven't been used to winning lately. But hopefully that will change, and that's why I said that this victory is so important, because just to give us that little bit of boost, that little bit of confidence that we can compete with these guys in their backyard, in their conditions.
So the most important thing, you're absolutely right, to come up to get to that confidence level of playing them on their field. That's like one of the most important things that we should learn. Talking about fielding, let's talk about fielding, because we've seen some major, fielding issues with Pakistan today, and some amazing fielding from specifically New Zealand's end. And what a catch to begin with when Mitchell, who was the substitute who was brought in, and he managed to take. I think it would definitely be the catch of the series.
I agreed. That was a fantastic catch, and he had just come on as a substitute fielder. The ball before, I think Guptill got injured on his finger, so he went off. So substitute fielder came on and took a stunning catch first ball. And to elaborate a little more on that, I think our fielding has been disappointing this whole series.
Right.
Considering that, a year or two ago when Sarfraz was at the helm, our fielding had improved a lot, especially in T20s when we were number one for a while. So from that to, come back to this is a little disappointing. Right. And I'm sure this is something that the management, the coaches will be looking at, because at least from what I saw, some of the fielding was very sloppy. It's not at the international standard as to what it should be. And I'm sure that, like I said, the management and coaches will be looking at this. Because
maybe at some parts of the game, from how I saw it today, you did see some of the energy and the effort being put in. But, some of the fieldings were slightly lousy, and that brought it some extra runs. If they weren't not there, obviously New Zealand would have given us a very shorter amount of, target, I guess. But yet again, we finally managed to get hold of the game. That's the most important part. So if we look back into the first match, how the journey started, because in the last analysis as well, I was speaking to my different correspondents that I spoke to, and I asked them, and I told them that, what exactly is the reason for the downfall at the start. Some said it was more of the aggression side that we were trying to put in. That in aggression, when aggressiveness comes in, you need to not be very aggressive, specifically when you are at someone else's pitch, someone else's. It's not your home ground. You don't know the home soil. So if you talk about the first, because losing Babar Azam, Fakhr Zaman, Imam al-Haq, some main backbone structures of our team, and then coming up to T20. Playing T20 after living in quarantine, having that stress level, having the anxiety level. So it's been a very tough journey. But how do you see from the start? Like, did that obviously that did affect, but to what an extent did it affect our team to be coming to the point of losing the first two games?
So in my opinion, I think the first couple of games, naturally, it's a very young team that we have, especially our batting order. Missing Babar at the top is a huge blow. Number one or number two ranked batsman in T20 cricket, I believe. So that was obviously going to be a big blow. And then a bit of inexperience with some new youngsters coming in, Haider Ali and the other one, Abdullah Shafiq, I think that's his name. Even Rizwan at the top of the order is not a natural T20 opener. I think is one of the first few times in that position. So put all those factors together, along with the fact that touring New Zealand, a lot of these youngsters, it's going to be their first time. They weren't able to get as much practice as they would have liked with the bubble and quarantine and all those, protocols that they had to follow.
Right.
So I think it always takes a game or two, to kind of get into that groove.
Mustafa,
and I think it was.
Mustafa, we will just take a quick break, and as soon as we are back from the break, we'll continue this talk. Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Insight with your host, Alamdar Khan. And yes, we're talking about today's victory. Yes, Pakistan won against New Zealand, and it was definitely one of the most sensational matches we've seen so far, because of the fact that, it came up to the point of the unpredictability of our team. that have actually risen the emotions of all us Pakistanis who were watching the match. Yes, Mustafa Naqvi, once again, thank you for joining us. So, Mustafa, we were talking about the first two matches in which obviously Pakistan had that unpredictable side. And what changes did you think they made or they learned from those two matches to come to a point of, Pakistan has been always more on the bowling side, and today they've actually proven that, when it comes to chasing a score like 173, and they managed to do so. What does that say to you about the team's morale, spirits, and motivation, and how do you see the changes happen?
So I think, Alamdar, one of the crucial factors was that we learned from our mistakes.
Right.
So I think in the last game, we batted first, and some of our openers and the top three just went really hard at the ball. They were just trying to hit big shots very early on, without playing themselves in. Hafiz came and, played a very mature role and kind of showed the way. So I think our batsmen learned a lot from that, just from seeing that you don't have to play big shots every ball, even though we were chasing, 170 is not an easy target to chase.
Absolutely
but you could see that, that maturity was there in the batting today. They took their time, the boundaries were coming, the run rate was okay, but no one really threw their wickets away. Maybe at the end, there were a couple of, iffy shots.
Right.
But that's part and parcel of the game, always happens. But I think that's the key point for me, was that we learned from some of our mistakes that we made in the previous games.
Right. So if we really look back right now, so if we talk about, Southee, for instance, how he instantaneously caught on fire. And in the first match, if we look back into Jacob Duffy, when Duffy came in and, everybody was like, he made a debutant, like getting the best for 4 wickets and, and great digits as well. So how do you see that? Because from a lot of people's perspective, to them, when I spoke to them about, how do you see the future of Jacob Duffy himself? So they were like, Alamdar, I guess this is only because of the fact that our boys did not have the practice that, we always talk about whenever it comes to bouncy pitches and a bit of aggression from our end, just trying to play more aggressive shots, and that's probably one of the reasons why he managed to, Jacob Duffy managed to, make his mark. But what do you think, as a bowler himself, how do you see Jacob growing ahead in the future then?
So I think he had a fantastic start to his career.
Right.
He took, I believe it was 4 wickets in the first game.
Yes.
And, pitching the ball in the right areas, moving it around. And also, I think he took a really good catch in the field. So it was a great start for his international
he
career.
definitely picked up one catch, which was obviously, I remember it was turned out to be not a catch.
It went for 6.
It went for 6,
right?
but they gave us 4 runs.
It was a great effort. It was a fantastic effort.
Then we talk about Bolt, or we talk about Southee, like how they managed to come to this point. And if our team is ready to face them, for instance, they're like world-class bowlers. And with the confidence, body language, let's talk about the body language. The body language that our players carried today was absolutely different from the one that they carried on the first and the second match. I'm sure you would have noticed it.
I completely agree. You could just tell that they were a little more positive. They were a little more, and positive doesn't necessarily mean playing big shots.
Right.
It's the running between the wickets was a little better. They were a little more chirpy on the field. Backing each other up. Even though there were a few missed fields here and there was a bit of sloppiness.
Right.
But overall, I think the attitude was a little more positive as compared to the last games. And that's one of the key factors. I mean, a lot of the game outside of your technical ability is, up here, and how you handle yourself and how you put yourself on the field and how you show yourself. So I think that positivity shown today in the field, with the ball, and especially with the bat.
Right. One more thing. Let's talk about Wahab Riaz. I mean, he didn't play the match today. So how do you think would that, I understand, with regards to Wahab Riaz himself, when it comes to his bowling, you can always tell by his stance, and whenever he's bowling, you can tell, that Wahab Riaz is going to be on fire in this match. He has that pure unpredictability element, but obviously changing him and, making changes. Mohammad Hasnan was brought in this time. How do you see Mohammad Hasnan going? Where do you see him going?
I think Hasnan is a very good cricketer with a lot of potential. He's still very young, very raw. He's, I think, barely 19 or 20. Right. So he has that pace. He has a good outswinger. He's been kept around the squad for the last, 1 or 2 seasons at least. He's been getting chances here and there. And one thing I like is I've seen improvement in him. I've seen him develop as compared to 2 years ago when he first started. He was really spraying the ball around, didn't really have control of his line and length. As in coming to today, I could really see that he has much better control of his length. He's bowling that hard length. He didn't get any wickets today, I think, but just overall bowled a good spell. Kept the runs down, which in T20 is as important as getting wickets, is not giving away runs, not giving away easy runs. So good. It's really good for Pakistan cricket that we have these young, fast bowlers, all capable of bowling 90 miles an hour.
Right.
Because the longer they stay around the team, the fitter they get, the stronger they get, they'll get better. So it's good that we persist with them, keep giving them chances, and it's the best way forward, I believe.
So you think that the change was, with regards to Wahab Riaz's inconsistency or maybe the situation, because we were recently discussing the whole idea of being in quarantine and isolation. Let's take this entire perspective to, okay, obviously I have that benefit of doubt of specifically this point that letting the player not net practice, letting the player inside in isolation for 14 days did have a big impact. So I think that's probably one of the major reasons, because I remember speaking to Salman Butt, the ex-cricketer, yesterday on the last match actually, and he told me very clearly, he said, Alamdar, this is for sure that our team will by now have learned everything, the peace, they have now the inner peace, they have had the experience of not playing initially and playing aggressively and not knowing how the pitch is like, haven't really practiced yet. But he confidently said that, this is what I'm telling you right now as a cricketer, they will win the third T20. So, and we did talk about some changes, and he said that, ultimately it's more about learning. You need to have a senior-junior combination so that, there is a will to learn. But yes, one of the issues that, we would like to highlight and discuss with you, how can we come up to a point of maybe improving more of the opening side, obviously having, because I was still not sure whether the youngsters will be opening today, right? Because of the last two matches, it was like a situation for them which would have been very hard and heartbreaking for them. So I think with regards to selectors giving them the third chance, what do you think about that?
I think it was a good call. Look, the more chances these youngsters get, the better they'll get. The more they'll improve.
Right.
It's very rough on a youngster. So I really feel for someone like Abdullah Shafiq, who he's very young, very raw, brought into the team, and poor guy, I think got 2 ducks in the first 2 games.
Exactly.
So someone had to make way. So I think he was dropped today. It's going to be hard on him, but he'll learn and he'll get better, from this. Continuity is very important, especially with youngsters. You can't be chopping and changing all the time. So it was good to see that Haider Ali was given 3 consecutive games at the top of the order, even though he may not have made the runs, required.
Right.
But it's good to see that they're backing the youngsters. They're giving them proper chances. In the past, we've had, problems with this where a batsman gets 1 game and then he's out, or 1 or 2 games and they're out. And that just puts unnecessary pressure, especially on batsmen, because you only have 1 chance.
Right.
So this is really good to see. It's a positive sign that they're backing these youngsters and they're giving them chances, because at the end of the day, they are our future.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is exactly one thing that I discussed with Salman Butt, and he said that Alamdar, to be on a test match is to be on that boat to learn, to master, because that's probably one of the reasons why it's called a test match, because it tests your patience and skills. So are you looking at these youngsters to be part of the upcoming tests that are underway very soon?
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly who's in and who's out of the test squad. I just glanced at it yesterday.
Right.
I don't think all these youngsters, Haider Ali, Abdullah Shafiq, are in the test side as of yet. I believe they're still just in the T20, and they maybe play 1 days. Test cricket is another beast altogether.
Right.
That's where you need more experience. It's a different game altogether.
Right.
So eventually, I think they'll get their chance, but maybe not this particular series that's coming up, because it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy facing New Zealand with the bowling attack they have in their home conditions. So it will be good exposure for all of our batsmen.
Okay, so tell me who, in your opinion, obviously let's talk about Shadab Khan himself. He he obviously instantaneously got that thing to, the captaincy responsibility. So let's go to the responsibility side. So how much impact would it have had on Shadab Khan back then when we lost those 2 matches, and today we won a match that, and we chased a score. So what do you think would be the impact on Shadab Khan himself? Because, instantaneously losing Babar Azam and then bringing in all the responsibility on someone like him.
So I think he stepped up. He's still also very young. Shadab's he's been with the team for maybe 3 years now, but he's still only 22 or 21.
Right.
So he's still also learning. He's shown positive signs. I didn't see any glaring mistakes or errors in his captaincy. I thought he led the team very well. He made good changes, whether it was with the bowling or whether it was in the field.
Right.
He himself is an outstanding fielder. His batting is improving. The only thing I would like for Shadab is to keep focus on his bowling. Because I think when he started, he was a fantastic spinner. He still is a very good leg spinner.
Done, Mustafa.
But I think he has the potential.
Mustafa, we're running out of time now, but thank you very much for joining us. And I'm definitely looking at the upcoming test match that will be out very soon. Till then, once again, congratulations Pakistan for winning this amazing match. Till then, you all take very good care of yourself. Bye-bye.